All right, guys. So how much do you guys know about Pillars of Eternity overall? A little bit. Okay, so it's a Kickstarter-backed project. We had 77,000 backers, raised $4 million, and the goal was to make a game in the spirit of games like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, and Planescape Torment, the Infinity Engine games. Those are PC role-playing games made in the late 90s and early 2000s, and they emphasized three things that we're really focusing on, which are exploration of beautiful environments, a really cool, rich, reactive story that responds to the choices that you make, and also party-based tactical combat using a real-time with pause combat system and a full 6-character party. So those are really core to the Infinity Engine experience, and that's what we've tried to do to recreate in this game. So we've shown the game a few times before, the beginning of the game. Now we're going to be showing content from the backer beta. The backer beta is going live to some of our backers on the 18th, so only a few days from now, and you're seeing some of the stuff that we're going to be showing in the backer beta. So we're just going to jump right in. Oh, yeah, and by the way, so I'm Josh Sawyer. I'm the project director and lead designer at Obsidian on this title, and this is Adam Brennicke. Adam is our lead programmer and executive producer, and he'll be driving. So right away, with difficulty settings, the people in the backer beta, they can choose from up to 4 difficulty settings. Path of the Damned is extremely difficult. We're going to be playing on easy because it's hard enough on easy. We also have Trial of Iron, which is our Iron Man mode. That's a single rolling save. So as you save, saving exits the game. If your party dies, your save game is deleted. We're going to be skipping that today as well. And then Expert Mode. Expert Mode turns off a lot of the ease of use features. We're not making games in the late 90s anymore, so we've tried to make things a little more transparent to players. Some of our players want a late 90s experience, though, so if you enable Expert Mode, it disables all those helper features. But we're going to be skipping that as well. But they are implemented, and they are there for people to play around with in the backer beta. We have shown character creation before, but we're going to be showing a few more options that we haven't shown previously. So we now have all of our character models and assets in, including the Amawa, which is one of our new races. They're a semi-aquatic race, very, very large and intimidating. Classic dwarves and elves. A lot of people still like playing the traditional races, so we decided to include them. We have Orlins, which are our new small race, very large ears, cat eyes, sort of semi-feral. And then the Godlike. And the Godlike are extremely unusual looking. They have those growths coming out of their head. Some people believe that they're touched by the gods. Some people think they're blessed. Others think they're cursed. But they're very unusual looking, which is one of the reasons why people really like playing them, is because they look so interesting. So in addition to the Death Godlike, we also have a Nature Godlike, Moon Godlike, and the Fire Godlike. The Fire Godlike, a lot of people like, well, because their heads look like they're on fire all the time. A lot of our backers also asked if they could choose the parentage of their Godlike. So they're not all assumed to be human godlike. They could be elves or dwarves or Amawa. We're going to go with an Amawa today because they're very big and intimidating looking. We've shown the Barbarian and the Wizard previously. Today we're going to look at the Paladin. Of course, in the backer beta, the backers can play from any of the 11 classes. They're all implemented. When you pick a Paladin, you also pick a Paladin Order. A Paladin Order is associated with different personality types. This is a role-playing game, and so if you role-play your character in accordance to the principles of your Paladin Order, you get minor mechanical benefits. If you play against those, you get minor mechanical penalties. It's not a huge influence, but we did want to tie the role-playing aspects to the mechanical elements of the game, because that seemed very fitting for the Paladins, and also because Obsidian tries to make very reactive games that react to the choices that you make. We have a traditional 6-stat spread, which is very Dungeons & Dragons-like, but we've tried to make it a little more balanced so it's harder to dump stats without consequence. In this case, Adam is building a character that has a very high constitution, has a great survivability, but he has kind of a low resolve. And resolve is the stat that you use to resist interrupts. Every time a character takes damage, they can play a hit reaction and be interrupted from what they're doing. So in this case, Adam is not quite emphasizing that, but there are always trade-offs to the type of character that you build. The culture that you pick determines where your character comes from. Mechanically, it gives you small benefits to your different attributes, and it determines your starting gear. In Adam's case, he's going to pick a character from Old Valia, gives him a bonus to intellect, and he starts with a rapier, small shield, and a breastplate, because they're sort of a swashbuckling culture. And then for his background, which is purely for role-playing, comes up in conversations, he's picking Dissident. To help your character stand out, you can customize your colors. You can be as garish as you want. Pick a crazy color combination like Adam just did. Or you can be more subdued if you want. Godlike don't have hairstyles to customize, but you can switch their heads out because they're very unique looking. Excuse me. And after you select your portrait, you just have to pick your voice and name and you can go straight in the game. Of course, players, if they want to, can put their own custom portraits into the game. It's very easy. They just drop them into the portrait folder. You can use your favorite fantasy art, or if you're really into photoshopping your own stuff or drawing your own pictures, you can do that as well.
Very well.
So in the backer beta, you start off at first level, but we give the player enough experience to advance to 5th level right away. We want players to mess around with the mechanics, get really a feel for what it's like to level up. You level up each of your skills individually. Every time you gain a level, you gain a class ability. In this case, the Paladin gained Lay on Hands. Lay on Hands is a very useful short-range heal for a single party member. You can also pick talents as you level up. Talents are like feats in D&D. In this case, he's taking Intense Flames. That makes the Paladin's Flames of Devotion attack, which is a powerful offense, more powerful. Inspiring Triumph is a nice passive bonus that you get every time the Paladin downs a defeated opponent. The party members gain additional buffs, or additional defensive buff while they're near the Paladin. Liberating Exhortation is another nice support ability the Paladin gets. That allows characters to ignore hostile status effects. So if you get a character that's poisoned, paralyzed, something really horrible is happening to them, you can use Liberating Exhortation to temporarily suspend the effects of all those negative status effects. And then at 5th level, the highest level ability you get is Zealous Charge. That is an aura that you can get that will accelerate all of your party members' movement in combat. A Paladin's auras are modal. You can only have one active at a time, but once they're on, they stay on. In this case, he just enabled Zealous Focus. Zealous Focus makes all the party members who are near the Paladin more accurate in combat. However, if you decide that you want to trade that off, you need all the party members to move really fast, you can use Zealous Focus, but they are exclusive. Over the course of the game, you get different Paladin Zealous auras, and you can switch them out tactically as you see fit. So now we have our party all leveled up, and we're going to go inside the tavern and find a room to rent. This tavern that we're going into, this inn, I should say, the Dracogen Inn is one of our backer inns. So during the Kickstarter beta, or sorry, during the Kickstarter process, we had a lot of high-end backers who decided to buy inns, and we have implemented in the game. This Dracogen Inn is one of them. And behind the bar is a man named Dengler, for our backer, Stephen Dengler. So he's the barkeep, and we can ask him about rooms that he has available for rent. In the Infinity Engine games, it often wasn't very compelling to stay at an inn because you could usually rest in the wilderness. It was unlimited and free. It was no big deal. In Pillars of Eternity, resting uses a limited resource, so you don't want to rest all the time. You just want to rest when you need to rest. But if you want to get special bonuses, you can also go to the inns. The more expensive rooms will actually give you more impressive bonuses. So if you rest at the Dragon's Lair, you'll get a bonus to Might, Constitution, and Intellect, and that will last until the next time you rest. So it's a very long-term buff. So that is sort of a motivation for why you'd want to rest at an inn. It gives you really cool bonuses. Otherwise, you can rest in the wilderness, but it does use resources. We can also use inns to talk about hiring additional adventurers. We have 8 companions that you can get over the course of the game, but we found that even though most of our players like companions, sometimes there's one companion that they just really don't like. They don't want him in their party. They just, I hate this guy. So if you don't want to use that companion, or if you want to build a different character, you can use the Adventurers Hall to buy your own adventurers, just like you might in Icewind Dale. So in Icewind Dale, you could build your whole party from scratch if you wanted to. So you have the ability to do that too through the Adventurers Hall. But we have 5 party members. That's enough to go on an adventure. So we're going to go out and try to find a quest to do. So in the backer beta, we have about 4 full quests that you can do. This one that we're about to go on is called A Farmer's Plight. And this pig farmer is having troubles because all of his pigs keep being stolen and eaten by an ogre that's set up in a cave nearby. And no one wants to go deal with the ogre because in addition to the ogre being very physically powerful, it's also very smart and crafty and very aggressive. Ogres in this setting are pretty smart. The only thing that keeps them from really overpowering huge communities is that they're hostile even to each other and they're extremely paranoid. So the only thing that can usually keep ogres in line is an ogre matron. Ogre matrons, the females, are even bigger than normal ogres, but they're more calm-tempered, and they can keep them in order. A lot of ogres eventually wind up wandering away, though, and just causing trouble for people out in the wilderness. So we're going to go and try to take care of them. The city that we're in, called Deerford, is built on top of some old ruins. So you can see some of the buildings are sort of built into incorporating the old towers and structures from the old settlements. And of course, in classic dungeon crawling fashion, there is an old ruined dungeon underneath that you can go and explore. But for now, we're going to go out in the wilderness and try to find the ogre that keeps stealing Rumbalt's pigs. In the backer beta, we have 2 wildernesses that you can go and explore. The first one is Deerford Crossing. We're going to head over there. It does take 4 hours to travel there, and because we have a day-night cycle, when you get there, it'll actually be evening. And this area, the main problem with this area is that there are a lot of big monstrous beetles that are wandering around, and they have different little special abilities, and they're all dangerous in their own way. In this case, the rogue is going to use her crippling strike ability, and now she's slowed that beetle down. That beetle is very, very dangerous because it's small, but it has a poison effect, so we really don't want it to get too close to us. And unfortunately, we are not able to stop the beetles from getting to the rogue, so we're going to try to use the rogue's escape ability to get out of harm's way. Rogues are not very tough, but they do have abilities that let them get away from a fight very quickly. So there you can see the rogue teleported a short distance away, keep them out of harm's reach. And the wizard, oh, is he going to pull it off? The priest just blessed the party, so that gives them accuracy bonuses in combat. Each class has their own special thing they contribute to combat. Fighters are good at holding a line and preventing characters from getting around them. Wizards have a variety of offensive debuffs and single target spells. Rogues are really great at single target damage. Every time a rogue manages to hobble or cripple an enemy, when they subsequently attack it, they get special bonuses to hit them. The stone beetles don't do a ton of damage, but they do take a lot of hits to kill. So you have to prioritize when you get into combat whether or not you want to deal with the stone beetle, which is tough but not that damaging, or the wood beetles, which are not that tough but can actually cause a lot of trouble for your party very quickly. So here we have 2 more stone beetles. We're going to try to slow them down, keep them at bay. And hopefully a well-placed fireball can help intercept at least one of them. Uh-oh. Yep, well, you got him just in time. So you see the stone beetle burrowed into the ground there. Sometimes the stone beetles will teleport to their target, but thankfully the rogue can use his escape ability or her escape ability in every single combat, so it gives them an easy out if they get into trouble very quickly. And because the fighter is starting to suffer a lot of damage, we're going to have him use his Vigorous Defense. Vigorous Defense is what the fighter is very good at. It's very good at holding a line. They don't do a ton of damage, but fighters can really take a lot of punishment and also just ignore a lot of attacks through their high defenses. Might want to use the priest's little short-range heal there. So the priest's Holy Radiance is a great quick party buff. So we managed to take those beetles out, and we can continue to search for the ogre. One thing I want to point out, though, is that as you fight different creatures, you will get entries in your cyclopedia. The cyclopedia allows you to track creatures' stats. Depending on your lore skill and how many you fight, you'll start to unlock different information about them. So in this case, the stone beetle, you can see that he has a very low deflection defense and a very high fortitude defense. Different attacks target different defenses. So if you're tactical about it, you will use different attacks to fight a stone beetle than you might to fight a wood beetle. Also, we can interact with the statue in the environment here. We use a lot of scripted interactions in the game. We've shown these before. People really seem to like them. They're illustrated storybook sequences where you can interact with things in the environment in a sort of non-traditional way. Kind of mess them around, push things, pull on things, try to explore and poke around on stuff. But this is not the dungeon that we're going into, so we're going to keep moving on and see what else we can find. But it is kind of goes to our philosophy about how we design our exterior environments. We want to have wilderness as designed so you can trip over other adventure opportunities as you're wandering around. So one thing you might notice is when you look at the dwarf's portrait, all the red is gone from the character's portraits. Their stamina reheals, that's their short-term health. It heals after every fight, but their health, their long-term damage, does not go away. It only goes away after you rest at an inn or out in the wilderness. So the dwarf is very, very wounded. You can see because he has very little green left. If it goes down to 0, he'll be maimed. If it happens again, he'll be outright killed. Once a character is killed, there's no resurrection in the setting, so that character's gone. So we're going to actually choose to rest in the wilderness, use one of our 3 camping supplies. Resting brings back all your health. It brings back all your daily abilities, so it makes it very nice for you to keep moving. And it's a strategic choice that you make. Every time you use that, it uses a resource, so you don't want to overuse it or you'll run out and have to go back to town. So in this case, we have a spider. Again, spiders have very dangerous poison of various types, so we're going to try to keep it at range as long as we can. The rogue's crippling strike was very effective at immobilizing it. Uh-oh. Oof, just in time. Wizard could have been in trouble, but wizards do have a defensive ability that lets them deal with things when they get too hairy. But so in this case, Adam chose to pull the spider using the fighter, which is very good because the fighter is able to take a lot of punishment very quickly. So just there, the priest used an ability called Divine Mark. Divine Mark not only does damage, but it really lowers the deflection attribute of the creature, so it makes them much easier for the rest of your party to hit. As often as possible, even when the priest is doing offensive actions, we try to reinforce the idea that the priest is about helping the party out. So we made it into the ogre cave, but in addition to the ogre living in the cave, there are also more giant spiders. The white one that you can see up front, that is called a crystal eater. They're very dangerous because their poison can petrify party members, so we really want to try to immobilize that guy as quickly as possible. So we use a fireball to soften them up, which is another classic sort of D&D style spell. We try to have a good range of very traditional spells and abilities and also new stuff that players have never seen before. This is a nostalgia-driven game, but we do want to give players new things that they haven't seen. So with those guys out of the way, we're very close to the ogre's lair. You can see the skulls down below. So we're going to rest one more time just to make sure that we're fully rested before we deal with the ogre. So here we have Korgrak. Korgrak is big and strong, but he's also very smart. So you can try to talk him down. You can convince him to leave. You can also convince him to be your friend if you want, but today we're not interested in that. We're going to fight him. So the big thing with ogres is you do not want to let them get near you, so we're going to try 2 tactics right away. We're going to try to cripple the ogre, and we're going to try to immobilize him using the halt ability. We're even going to have our fighter switch over to using an arbalest, which is a siege crossbow. And the paladin is only there in case the ogre starts moving again. So each time you hear that booming sound, that's the rogue getting in a sneak attack on the target. Whenever an enemy is suffering from one of those negative status effects, the rogue will just continue to pile on sneak attack damage, whether they're using a ranged weapon or a close melee weapon. The priest blessing the party never hurts. Makes them more accurate. Oh, but now he got moving and he's going to come straight for the wizard. Wizard's going to use Arcane Veil. Oh no, okay. So the rogue was able to get out of the ogre's way right away. Now you can see up top there the wizard is in his arcane veil that makes him very difficult to hit and damage, but only for a short period of time. Ogre managed to knock down the party fighter, so now he's dealing with the paladin. And the paladin's getting really badly damaged. Hopefully the wizard can heal in time. Yep, just in time. So it was a tough fight, but we were able to get through it. No one went down. And after Korgrak dies, he leaves behind his head, which is very nice of him, and some ogre blood. And ogre blood, along with beetle shells and spider bits, I think they're legs, mandibles maybe, scales from different creatures. When those creatures die and you collect them, you can use those for enchanting or crafting. So in the crafting system, you can make food items, scrolls, and potions. And with the enchanting system, you can use that to make your weapons and armor and shields more powerful. So whether it's a weapon that you started the game with and you just want to play through the entire game with it, or it's a unique item that you want to add more additional powers to, you can do either based on the enchanting system. It's very easy to use. So now that we have the head back, we're going to go back to town, and we're going to turn it into Rumbald. Overall, the backer beta consists of this town, which is Deerford, along with 2 wilderness environments, 2 dungeons, a little side dungeon, and it should be, did I already say 3 to 5 hours to play? But it's should be a lot of stuff for people to go through. They can play all the classes, they can play all the races, so it should be a very good representation of the final game. And of course, we're using the backer beta as a way to get feedback from our crowd. We want to make sure that we make the game better based on their feedback. So here we've turned the ogre's head back into Rumbald, and he's very happy. You can choose to refuse his reward if you want to, which will give you a bonus to your benevolent reputation. If you get a benevolent reputation, some people will think that you're a very kind-hearted person. Other people will think that you're a sucker, and they'll try to take advantage of you. But that's the choice that you make. No matter what, though, Rumbald always gives you a piglet. So he has a runt of his litter that he doesn't have much to do with, so he gives it to you. And you can equip it in your pet slot, and then it becomes a little teeny pet that will follow you around. It doesn't participate in combat. It can't be hurt or target things or anything like that. It's purely cosmetic, but it is something that we've had a lot of fun just messing around with, and the designers were very eager to give out pets as rewards in the game. So that does it for our demonstration of Pillars of Eternity today. Does anyone have any questions? All right, cool. Thanks for dropping by, everybody.